Hey guys, what's up? Von Schnitzel here. Today we're going to be using the Veteran's Prosthesis, which is a fist weapon with the longest range in the game, but a very awful weapon skill that you cannot change to balance that out. It has a lightning-quick running R1 thrust attack that has plenty of forward momentum, making a great whiff punish tool that hits very hard. It has a notable running R2 to standing R2 true combo, much like some of the other fist weapons. This can quickly rack up major damage, oftentimes over 1,000 damage with a true combo. Neutral R2 is a quick jab that can be used as a roll catch, or mixed up with the neutral R1 to trip up your opponent's timing. The jumping light and heavy attacks are similar and have decent damage, but due to their short reach and the telegraphed nature of jump attacks, they are not the highlight of this weapon. The crouch R1 does not have as much forward momentum as the running attacks, and is not quite as quick to pull off as the neutral R2 release, so it won't see as much use, but it's still useful as a mix-up. Now we come to Storm Kick, possibly the worst weapon skill in the game. It's slow, it has no hyper armor, and the first portion of the move does not combo into the follow-up, making it an extremely risky and often match-losing move to use. It is because of this awful weapon skill that you don't see this weapon used very often. However, after testing this thing out for a few hours, I can confirm that the range on the Veteran's Prosthesis, coupled with the powerful fist moveset, is well worth it. We're going to be using this on my level 125 Dexterity Build. Even though the tooltip for this weapon states it scales better with strength, it seems that it's a mistake because it actually does more damage with 60 Dexterity instead of 60 strength. I swap among a variety of talismans with these fists, but the most notable are Millicent's Prosthesis and the Rotten Winged Sword insignia to stack up successive hit damage that builds upon the high aggression playstyle of fists, as well as the Godskin Swaddling Cloth, which will always proc the heal off of the guaranteed running R2 into neutral R2 true combo. It's a sizable heal at roughly 87 per proc at 60 vigor. Now I'll only heal once or twice a match, but that help can make all the difference in a close fight. So now that you're familiar with the build and the moveset, let's dive right into some duels. Pretty unique setup that my opponent's using here. He ends up using 2 daggers against me with Storm Stomp, so something I haven't seen before. He does start out with that whip, but switches promptly to the daggers. I go in for the first attack and then roll in, not expecting Storm Stomp against daggers. So now I know to switch my talismans and kind of keep my spacing because I don't want to get Storm Stomped. So I'm going to play a game where I wiggle around a little bit, spam that L1 button, try to confuse him, land that running R1 into R2 combo, and then space back to go again for running R2 into R2. So just 2 running attack combos, just finished him. Here we face off against Getting Off and using Law of Causality, so we just give him what he deserves real quick. Swift Justice. This next match, we have a guy using the Colossal Greatsword. The best Greatsword. I do a little bit of talisman swaps at the beginning. Get a few pot shots in with just R1s as he's rolling around. I should have been wary of that crouch attack and rolled, but I managed to jump the second one. And I foolishly attack out of hit stun there, and he just is able to hyper armor me. Pulls out a rapier to get some hits, forces me to step away. Then he pulls out the halberd with flame strikes, and I'm a little bit wary. I'm trying to position myself to run diagonally forward if he goes for a thrust, but then he switches back to the greatsword, so I get the opportunity to switch back some talismans. I go for running R2 there, but only connected the second hit, but then I land the full 3-hit combo there for the W. GG. In this match, we both get up boiled crab buffs, and then we get to fighting. He's using a great axe, so it's kind of slow. It's not something I should be trading into like that. I should be waiting for whiff punishes, but I'm a little aggressive this match, so I take a few hits stupidly. Then I start to become patient, roll, go for the R2 combo and miss. This time I wait out that attack instead of attacking in, but he rolls away. Now I see I'm making a lot of mistakes, so I kind of give a little wiggle there in admission to what I'm doing wrong. And you'll see now I stop being as aggressive. I'm trying to bait out a movement from him first. Wait for that second hit, but I was not in the right position to punish, so I have to roll away. I go for an attack there, as he goes for a spinning slash that's not in range. I go for the standing R2 there to try to roll catch. It doesn't quite connect, but I do land the R2 combo there, and I opt to go for an R1 instead of the R2. Now he's hurting, so he's more likely to panic roll, because a punch combo is just going to kill him like it does there. GG, buddy. We have a worthy opponent here using Sword and Board. We start out in neutral, just moving around a little bit, trying to determine who's going to be the first to aggress. I eventually get impatient, go for running R1 into R1, and do a major 1600 damage. I don't think he expected that at all. Roll away from the Swords Dance, and then now I'm just going to pressure him by staying in his space until he falls to the jumping R1. Our opponent here starts by casting some flies, a little bit annoying, but no big deal. I throw a dagger and just run behind the pillar to avoid that. Hit him with a running R1 into the running R2 combo. Here we're fighting someone using Giza's Wheel, so a very interesting weapon, hard-hitting, colossal weapon. He goes for an R2 immediately, which I just space away from, go for running R1. He pulls out the rapier, which is more difficult weapon to deal with than the Giza's Wheel. He goes for a parry, which does not connect. I go for a backstab that he manages to roll out of. He goes for a crouch punish, but the weapon is just too slow. Misses another parry and takes a flurry of fist attacks. Does a nice reverse jump on me to punish me a little bit. But then I just neutral jump to punish him. After he whiffs another parry, I go for an L2, but foolish, it didn't do anything. I try to get behind him again for that backstab. It does not connect. And again, he's trying to punish me with a roll catch on this thing, but it's just too slow. So it's just a matter of time before he takes a punch and dies. I'm a little bit wary of these parries still, but he goes for a jump and ends up getting the stab to the leg. Next we have a guy using Vike's War Spear and the Crucible Knight armor. So pretty interesting setup. We're going to be wary of that Ash of War. He immediately goes for some Madness spells, so I see what his game plan is here. I wiggle around a bit to try to get him to panic roll, go for that running R1 to punish, end up taking a couple spear hits directly to the face. I go for the neutral jump to try to punish him, but he just catches me out of midair. So instead I just back off, cure the madness, and then I see that he's kind of cornered me, and he's using the unendurable frenzy. So I just pray that he doesn't get in range, roll a little bit, take a few hits, and I survive. So I run in for the punish here, so he goes for the mana up, get the R2 combo into an R1 roll catch, and immediately close out the fight. Quick turnaround. We have another fight here against a Colossal Sword. This time it's Malekith's Blackblade, and he's using the Black Flame protection buff. I get a quick R1 in, and I manage to roll out during the swing of that weapon. You can see I'm able to just kind of pressure Colossal Swords with this running R1. Just an in and out guerrilla warfare playstyle, and there's not much he can do. GG. This match is against a pretty interesting power stance setup. It's two Halberds. I get my Boiled Crab buff out because the Halberds do hit pretty hard, even if they are kind of easily avoidable. I go for a neutral jump there because he goes for the running L1, and then I foolishly roll backwards and eat that giant hunt, roll inwards to dodge the running L1, and then hit him with a running R1 punish into a R1 roll catch punish. GG. So this is a match that I thought was very important to include because it shows one of the mistakes you can make when using weapons like this. You don't want to attack into a Colossal Sword like I do right here, because I get caught in a Hyper Armor Vortex chain that I failed to roll out of appropriately, and now I'm at such a health disadvantage that I just get killed by his offhand dagger. Don't do that. Now we have a match against Power Stance Straight Swords, which are probably one of the most meta setups in the game. We go for a whiff punish with a running R1 on that jump attack. He goes for a running L1 and whiffs. Surprisingly, he goes for Stormblade, which I did not expect, but I managed to dodge it in time. He goes for the backswing as expected, and then a Swords Dance. So now I've kind of read him a little bit. So I hit him with a standing R2 into a standing R1. We end up trading some blows before I return to neutral. Trying to wait for an opportunity to punish something. He goes for a jump, so I run in for the running R2, but the Hyper Armor of the Swords Dance catches me off guard, and he gets a follow-up roll catch with that Crouch L1. So I swap my talismans as quickly as I can, get a nice running R1 to R2 combo, and then he catches me off guard with that jump. So this next match is against like a Spellblade Wizard type of build. He starts by using that consumable to proc his Carrion Retaliation. They launch at nothing, and then he goes for it a second time, so he's kind of just preparing some defenses here, baiting me in close. Then he swings the straight sword, so I kind of know his game plan here, so I just need to bide my time and wait for the right opportunity to strike. He whiffs an attack here, so I see my opportunity, go for the running R1 into R2, and then a follow-up running R1 to roll catch and kill him. We have an opponent here using a very meta moveset, Halberd in the main hand, and Nagakiba in the offhand. Great vortexing potential, because they both do max poise damage, and you could kind of just alternate them. Hit him with a nice running R1 into R1 follow-up, and then punish him again with a running R1. Roll his Halberd hit him with an R1 crouch attack, and he's kind of struggling here, so I hit him with another running R1 and finish that fight fast. This fight here is against a guy using two rapiers, so we have yet another interesting power stance moveset. We get into a little scuffle there where we both kind of swing. He goes for a whiffed parry, and I end up being the victor of that trade. He's very low, so I'm just able to threaten him with a fan dagger into a running R1 to finish the fight. Here we have a fight versus a lance. So he starts out pretty aggressive, mixing up his movement kind of well. I roll his crouch R1, get hit by the second one, and then neutral jump R2 to punish his next follow-up. Strafe around that to get the backstab. And here I go for a funny wake-up. I go for the Storm Kick that achieves nothing other than getting me punished. But luckily I have the health advantage, and I'm able to just swing for the win. So this guy is some kind of like a Dragon Arcane build caster. He goes for the Ripple Halberd thrust attack. I strafe it to the right to dodge it, but don't get a punish off. He goes for a Lightning Bolt, so I'm trying to find my in. I go for standing R2 and whiff, and he starts casting boulders. So I find my in there, I go for running R1 into R1, followed by another running R1 into R2, and a standing R1 to roll catch him. Quick 100 to 0. Next here we have a really close match. We both get our boiled crabs up, and we're facing an opponent using a buffed up flail. So very interesting. He does have a hyper armor advantage over me. He goes for an attack, which I go in for a whiff punish. He rolls it smartly, so I back off, go for a whiff punish again. And he just starts swinging. He's able to because he has the hyper armor. And I kind of run in expecting him to roll away, and he does not. So I see that he has the hyper armor skill on his side. So I gotta approach this a little bit more passively now. I switch my talismans a little bit. He's waiting for me to come in. He's not really doing much until I run in first. That is the right way to do it. He eventually gets impatient. I get a running R1 into R2, but I don't roll out right away, so I take a hit. And then we both end up swinging at the same time. GG, Mr. Beanpole Wizard. So this is a matchup that always tests my patience. Just a standard greatsword. You know, the hyper armor utility of a greatsword is just so good. It's something that always just tests me. So I go for the R2 follow-up there and immediately hit a hyper armor trade. So I see what I should have expected. I get a nice running attack with punish here into an R2 roll catch, and then I back off and hit him with a second running attack to punish that attempt to hyper armor trade me. So this guy starts off the fight with a claymore. Very respectable weapon. I go for running R1 to start, he just spaces me back, and ends up switching to his own fists, so I like his style. We go toe-to-toe here with some fisticuffs. Try to get some running attacks in, but I fail to land. Then he gets his barbaric roar or war cry up, whatever that is. We both exchange a few punches, return to neutral. He ends up running in first here with his running R2. I try to hit him with a spaced up charge R2, but I fail. So I hit him with a running R1 into R1 combo, get over 1,000 damage on him, and then whiff punish his punch with my own running attack again. Next opponent, using 2 rapiers, I quickly land a running R1 into R1 combo, and then punish his whiff jump attack with a running R1 into R2. Nothing like a good fight against a wizard, right? We both start by getting boiled crab up, and he begins by just casting Star Shower. So I take a little bit of guaranteed chip there. He goes for the spinning slash, so I see that his plan is to just bait me inward into that spinning slash combo. Yep, there it is. He goes for the second part even though it didn't connect, and eats 1,100 damage real quick. I end up finishing him off with just a few consecutive R1s. GG. Now this is a build I really like, the build my opponent's using. Using a twin blade with Warcry, and it's a frost twin blade. We land a first running R1 there, get first blood a little bit, and we're kind of just dancing around in neutral, waiting for an opportunity to whiff punish. Opponent goes for a jump right as I do there. I end up getting the short end of the stick, but land an R2 as he procs the frostbite on me. So I just fall back, get the frost bolus off, and I roll to the right, and he makes a good prediction. But I land a quick R1 running attack into R1 neutral combo to end the fight. Have another match here against Malekith's Blade and an offhand rapier. I start by going for a running R1, land the first hit, should not have gone for the follow-up hit, but I get a standing R2 out of hit stun to kind of push him off of me. I go for the running R2 punish, but he turns his blade away so I whiff. And then his backstep R2 I get to punish with this running R1. Kind of just back and forth trading at this point. I do have the health advantage, so I try to do something sneaky. I go for a backstep, doesn't pay off. My R2 doesn't fully connect, so he doesn't take enough damage for me to finish him, and we end up slaying each other. Good example of why you don't want to trade a lot with fists. This ends up being a quick match, where I get a running R1 into follow-up R2, trade there, and then I kind of space out a little bit, eat a hit there I thought I outspaced, so now I try something sneaky, and then I go for a jumping neutral R2 to finish the fight. Have another match here with an opponent that's using Braggart's Roar or something. Pretty popular the night that I was playing this. Put my Ritual Shield Talisman on to reduce the damage of the first hit he does to me, because I figure it's going to hit hard. I avoid that R2 and then quickly get hit by an R1. Thankfully I had that Shield Talisman on. Then I follow it up with a running R1 whiff punish, followed by the R2. Standard combo, he switches to fists, endures, so I space out a little bit. I try to reverse jump to punish him, and as he throws out his fists wildly, I'm preparing to just counter him with some punches of my own. And there's the win. GG. Next we have a match against someone using the Butcher Cleaver, and no armor for some reason. Go for my first whiff punish there. She keeps swinging, just missing, so I'm looking for more opportunities to whiff punish if she's going to give them to me. I space out that one, and go for the running R1 into R2. She blocks it, ends up getting shield broken and critical struck for the win. Have another match here with my nemesis weapon, the Greatsword. I'm going to fix my talismans up to start with a running R1 to deal the first bit of damage to him. And as he goes for a jump attack whiff, I landed running R1 into R2, so initially I have a great health advantage. Kind of ruin it as I run into that attack and then trade with Giant Hunt there. So I'm suddenly down to a third of my health. Barely squeaked by a dodge that charged R2. That could have been death. And then I delay my R2 there to roll catch him for the W. Really cool guy here, using Blythe's greatsword. I trip him up with a jumping R1 to start, dodge his crouch R1, and then trade a standing R2 for his slash. End up eating a secondary hit, didn't expect it. He goes for the Wolf's Assault, so I space it out. Not really a thing I can punish with something this short, but that's okay. He takes out a staff, so I'm wary of spells now, and I just run in immediately to punish whatever cast he has coming for me. Followed by hit punish on his next swing. GG. I have another dual halberd user here. I sneak in a little running R1 damage there. Jump over the Halo Scythe to land a jumping R2. Strafe his jumping attack a little bit to the right, knock him out of the air. And then now he's on the back foot. He's very low health. He goes for a trade there with the backstep, but ends up falling to my running attack. So this battle is a good example of one of the counters of fist weapons, which is hyper armor and jump attacks. You see how I go in for a running attack, and he could just jump over it, and it didn't matter if I did the running R1 or running R2, or the standing versions. A neutral jump just counters fists. You see I go in for another attack there, get hyper armored, and he jump attacks me, I fail to roll. So this fight I start out away from my controller, but once I come back, I see that we're facing someone with sword and board again. He goes for a neutral jump, expecting me to run in, so he clearly knows a good counter to the fists. I think he's expecting me to run in. Gets a few swings on me. And then, yeah, jumps my running R2. So I see this is going to be tough. I go for my own jumping R2. Go for a trade there. He wins that trade, goes for the impaling thrust and misses. Jumps my running attack once again. So I see that that's just not going to work. I switch up my talisman really quick, and then I start throwing fan daggers at him. I want to get him to be the aggressor. Sometimes a fan dagger into running attack works like it does there. Other times it just forces them to run in on you. And that's what I want. I want him to be the one to whiff and make a mistake. So he jumps in here. I eat a hit. But after he whiffs, I go in for the running R2 into R2 true combo, and follow up with a running R1 to finish the fight. It really does do deadly damage if you land that true combo. I have a little match against a friendly guy with the Albinaric mask here, except he's not too friendly. He starts throwing fan daggers at me immediately, so I switch off my sword and shield talismans. Smart of him to break them, honestly. He's trying to build poison buildup, and since he's giving me space, I take the opportunity to clear it. He's not really running very fast, so there's not really a threat of a running jump or a running R2 right now. Go for running R1 whiff and go for me a neutral jump to punish his thrusts. See, he's blocking, so I go behind for a backstab, miss it. He's really trying to make this shield poke work with the barricade shield, so it's tough to really attack into. I don't want to switch weapons here, so instead I just switch to a kick, break his guard, and hit him with a critical hit to end the fight. You really got to be careful when using shields like that. Have a rematch against the guy that was using Giza's wheel. Start with a running R1. Waiting for the right moment to whiff punish here. I get a running R1 into R2 and then back off. Want to reset into neutral and wait for another whiff punish. I go for a couple neutral jumps just to make him kind of not expect what I'm doing. Roll that crouch attack. He throws out an extra attack that probably shouldn't have been thrown out. My R2 misses. I probably should have went for a running R1 there because it's faster. We both start playing a very patient neutral game here. Just spacing around, waiting for the other to whiff him and make a mistake. I go for a charged R2 there, expecting him to panic roll or something, but I hold it too long. He ends up double rolling away. He does a nice L1 feint there, but it does not pay off because the jumping attack is so slow on the Giza wheel. Dodge that crouch R1, go for a backstab and miss it. Dodge his charged R2. This fights with this weapon can be very slow if opponent isn't willing to whiff attacks, and there is slight latency here, so I have missed a few whiff punishes. I go for the R2, then end up trading, and since I have health advantage, I just throw out a second R2, because it's okay to trade and go for the W. Next fight is Fists versus Fists. He has Star Fists with Barbaric Roar, or Braggart's Roar. I land the running R2 into R2 combo. Get an R1 as he rolls into me. Standing R2, end up eating a few hits from him. Back off, because now I want to go for Whiff Punish. Punish his roll, and then finish him off with just a neutral R1. So this guy has a interesting and very deadly combo. He's using the Iron Cleaver, buffed with Sacred Blade, and the Commander Standard in the offhand. So he wants to hit me with that Halberd, and then bait me into rolling to hit me with that R2. Throws a Frost Pot at me, which I just dodge. Trying to find an in, but that Halberd is very long range, so it's kind of hard to actually punish with something this short. I landed R2 into R2 combo, quick 1000 damage, over half of his health in one combo, so that's pretty deadly. Hit him with a nice R1. Try to finish him off there with a running R1 and whiff. I really don't want to make a mistake here and throw this match, so I'm being very patient, waiting for another opportunity to whiff punish one of his standard halberd hits. Now here you're about to witness the punishment for being impatient with a weapon like this. I eat the halberd into the offhand cleaver into the R2 as I panic roll away. For the final match here, we're fighting someone with Nagakiba and Blood Flame Blade. So my first thought is expecting Spinning Slash, obviously. I go for the running R1 into R2, he rolls away. I roll out early here expecting Spinning Slash, but he pulls out the double slash. Get a running R1, peel back, and hit him with another running R1. We both space out. He jumps in, going for a running attack. Roll kind of into him diagonally to dodge it, switch my talismans, and as he whiffs that, I run in for the final whiff punish to end the match. GG, my friend. So long, my friends. Remember to like and subscribe. Until next time.